Hi, film addicts. Welcome to the show. Today we have an amazing guest for you. We have Charles Morris Jr., and he's the VP of Acquisitions and Development for Global Genesis Group. They are a TV and film production company and a worldwide distribution company. And they have 7 new feature films coming out, and their latest film, Blossom, just wrapped. So let's welcome Charles Morris Jr. to the show, who is also an executive producer and screenwriter. On let's get him on the show and find out what he's been up to. Hi, Charles. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Go film addicts.
Yeah, we got a big title for you. You do so many things and you work with an amazing company. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We do a lot of things, yes.
Yeah. Can you tell our audience, our lovely audience, where I'm recording with you today?
Well, I'm in Glendale, California, so right outside of Los Angeles, and I was born and raised in Southern California, so I'm one of the only natives here, especially natives in the film industry, where everyone seems to have come from someplace else than the greater Los Angeles area. So, but as I said, I was born and raised out here, and so it was an easy transition to move into LA and start working in the industry.
Oh, great. So you're actually an original Los Angeles. So did you grow up in LA, or?
Ontario, California, which is about 45 minutes east of downtown Los Angeles. So, in the scheme of things, it's all greater Los Angeles, but not, officially LA County. But, I went to film school at USC, and so from my young 20s, I've been in Los Angeles. Yes.
Oh, wow. So when you were growing up in Ontario, did you have some favorite films as a child that you loved to watch?
Film was always important. I grew up at a time where, my mom would drop us off at the theater on Saturday, and they would have, programs for kids and such where you could watch 3 movies, and so yes, growing up we were in the theater a lot. When I was a teenager, and my father, I have 3 younger sisters, and one of them wanted to get into acting, and so we all became extras, and so I didn't do it that much. I was an extra for Chips, I think, and like 1 or 2 other movies, but they worked a lot. My sisters were aliens in Close Encounters. One of my sisters was in the classroom of Mask, with Rocky Dennis, or Eric Stoltz's character, and so there was always kind of a connection to movies. And then one of my good high school friends, his father was Mario Gallo, and Mario Gallo was one of the co-stars of Raging Bull. He was also in King Kong with Jeff Bridges, but Raging Bull was it's one of my favorite movies, but he's De Niro's corner man in that, and so to have somebody that was actually working in, Raging Bull's an iconic movie, and to know somebody that was actually one of the co-stars, and they're growing up, you didn't think about I don't know, when you're a teenager, you don't think about that kind of stuff. But looking back on it now, I could say, wow, that was a pretty big brush with, cinematic history in a sense, because Raging Bull was voted the top movie I think by the American Film Institute, top movie in the 1980s.
Yeah, and also Raging Bull is also one of your favorite Criterion movies. I love that.
Yeah, and it's I always remember, as a filmmaker, as somebody who loves cinema, if you think about it, Jake LaMotta is not a nice character. I mean, he batters his wife. He almost kills his brother with a beatdown, and they still, I mean, Scorsese, and they still make him somewhat of a sympathetic character, and so that is the magic of film, is that you could you could make this guy who was not necessarily a good person or a nice person um, seem bigger than life, and seem amazing, and in reality he probably wasn't. I mean, he was a good fighter, but he wasn't a good person. um,
Despicable Me, right? Kind of just, I just feel like it's like, but that's a comedy, that kid show. But yeah, yeah, and that's true
I mean, but
talent.
yes, but that's the power of movie making, is that filmmakers, in a sense, and I don't want to make it seem like over dramatic, but filmmakers have a responsibility, and it's like you can't. It's how you approach these things. I mean, Blossom was just also about battered women, um, and trying to help people that seem to need help, that uh, and that people get caught up in it, and we're all not necessarily what our public persona is, that people can be manipulating you, people can be evil, people can have ulterior motives, and I mean, Usual Suspects. I mean, these are the kind of things that I remember sitting in the theater and watching Angel Heart, and when Mickey Rourke is in that elevator going down to hell, it was just like, wow, we cared about this guy the whole movie. That this guy was investigating these murders, and he's going through such a tough time, and you're invested in his character, and all of a sudden, Alan Parker says, "Hey, um, he's the actual killer," and it's just like, okay, so they totally, the filmmakers, I mean, they get you, they trick you, but it's for an effect, and the effect is that we're not always what we seem, and so these are the things we can do in cinema, and of course, the bottom line is for entertainment. I don't think um, movies like Angel Heart. I mean, you got the devil, and I mean, it doesn't have a great social message, but it's entertainment.
Good versus evil. But yeah, I'm going back to Raging Bull. Like, it has a beautiful quote in there. Do you want to, because you love
Well,
that quote, right?
well, I love that quote, and that's something that without going into the whole quote, I mean, it's the it's in the New Testament, and it's basically about the blind man that Jesus touched, and the Pharisees are questioning him about what happened and who was this man that and the blind man basically says, I don't know. All I know is I was blind and now I can see. And for people that go through journeys in life, for people that make changes, that I mean, you could apply that to a lot of things, and so it's a beautiful quote, and it's great to have your eyes open, and it's great to be able to see, and some people do go through life blind, um, but yes, I mean that always, I mean that tag at the end of the movie always stuck with me. Yes.
And sometimes we don't, once we see it, we're like, oh, wow, now I wish I didn't, maybe it was a blind, ignorance is bliss. I know now why they have that quote out there as well. But I love how you were talking, and like you said, it, I love the slow motion boxing, as like you went to USC film school. and from a directing standpoint, how they did the slow motion and with the film and the light and the shadow. Like you said, they take this monster of a man, they try to redeem him, make him bigger than life, but the character is the one behind his own demise. Like you said, I love that so much how you broke that down. And
well, I mean, if you think about it, because it's the opening title sequence, and you have, I mean, and my pronunciation is always poor, but you have the classic song, the Cavalleria Rusticana, and the symphony music playing that song, and it's they have the smoke, they have the slow motion, they have the sweat, and it's like a ballet. It's beautiful, and so they're setting you up to say this is a violent sport. Of course, it's boxing. There's blood, there's violence. People die in the boxing ring, but there's also beauty in it, and there's beauty if you look at it. If you take, and that's why they slow this down. It's in slow motion. It's like take a moment and look at this man just shadow boxing across the ring, and I mean there's beauty in life. It's how you portray it.
yeah, and I'm excited about your film. You spoken a little bit about your film Blossom. That's the film you just wrapped up, and it's going to debut on BET in January. So we do look forward to that.
Yeah,
And
BT Plus.
mhm.
So we've done. We had a movie, The Business of Christmas 2. It was a sequel that was on BT Plus in December of 2021. Then we had Unfinished with Nori Victoria and Omar Gooding. That was on BT Plus in March of this year, and it debuted at #1 and stayed #1 for a week, and then moved to #2 on the whole platform.
Congratulations.
And, well, thanks. And that's what got us to do Blossom. I mean, we were going to do Blossom with private investors, and BT Plus was very happy with us, and they said, we like the thrillers you guys are doing. Do you have anything else in the pipeline? We said we're just about to shoot something, and we sent them the script, and they loved it, and they had some casting suggestions. I mean, we have Nori Victoria, who was the lead of Unfinished. She's the lead in Blossom. Blue Kimball, who is on a Tyler Perry show. Well, it's on BT Plus. I think it's a Tyler Perry show, Ruthless. Cynthia Bailey from The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Al Sapienza, who's a great character actor. I mean, he was in House of Cards. I mean, he's probably known as the best from The Sopranos. He played Mikey P. And so Al is amazing. He's a friend of ours. And then Madison Bullock played the title character Blossom. And she's a really amazing actress. So we got a great team, and we just wrapped it, and we've already seen a director's cut. It's a pretty good movie. We're very, very happy with it.
Yeah, and then I always ask about like film shots, and do you have any favorite film shots that you want to go over? Because you went to film school. Do you want to tell us about like how your film school and how you apply that to films?
Well, so when I applied to USC Film School, and I always thought I was just a screenwriter, and I'm gonna write, and then I'm gonna write novels, and then I've been in my one of my bosses, I've known for 30 years. It was right after USD Film School. I had a friend connect us, and so we've been writing together. And about 10 years ago, they came to me and said, we're forming this company, Global Genesis Group. Do you want to be our head of acquisitions, our head of development? And I said, sure. And so, we're going to be a distribution company. and a production company. And so for someone that always came from a screenwriting background, and I had done a short stint as a head of development for another company that went under. But I had never thought I would be in this position. I mean, development is a complete different, I mean, not development, but distribution is a complete different animal than production. But it's it's a necessary evil. And nobody likes distribution companies because everyone thinks, the $50,000 movie they made is going to make $10 million. And it's just not the reality. I mean, people still want to see Brad Pitt in your $50,000 movie, and that's not going to happen. So it's hard, but it's a very interesting I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but to get to 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 come up as a screenwriter and then to become an executive with a company that deals not only in production. And so there's so many things to know on the production side beyond just being able to write a script. So there's that aspect, and there's also once the movie's done and trying to get it distributed and talking to buyers and talking to broadcasters and to platforms and what they're looking for. And that can be frustrating too, because sometimes you have the beautiful festival winning movie, but it doesn't have the talent, and it's hard to sell because the people that go to movie festivals, the people that like festival movies aren't your mainstream audience. I mean, people sitting in the middle of the country that just want to watch a good Steven Seagal movie.
My mom is with you there. She's the Italian that watches all of his movies. I go, Mom, you're watching his movies? Yeah. And Jason Statham. And I'm like, I go, he's only done so many, so let me find somebody else. And then I'll find somebody else. And she wants Jason.
So that is the sweet spot that you have to find, is that, yes, it's a business. And so, somebody could come to us and say, hey, I have half the money raised for this, intense drama about, and not to get political right now, but just because it's a hot button topic, hey, I got this intense drama about abortion, but we don't have talent attached. Or somebody comes to us and says, hey, we got half the financing for this action thriller. All of a sudden it's like, well, we know we can place a high quality action thriller, but the abortion drama is going to be a harder sell, and it's going to be something that's difficult to get buyers behind. And I'm just talking in generalities. And so that's why sometimes you have to go for those Jason Statham kind of projects, because this is a business, and we make movies because we can make movies that we can sell, and we get our investors' money back, and then people want to work with us again, and they bring more money. So you gotta get into the system, and the system is making movies that can be placed not just on Amazon, so it's VOD. You gotta sell that license to a Hulu or a Netflix or a Hallmark or a Lifetime or a BT or BT Plus. Those are the parameters that we go into this. When we get scripts, it's like, great, it's a great script, but who would be interested in picking this up?
Yeah. And so I remember being part of Independent Film Festival, and I would love Billy Elliot. I just remember all those movies that just smashed out of the independent box with this new talent, and it was just so breathtaking. And I would watch all those movies, I think Calendar Girls, and I remember there was just a slur of these independent films that just broke the records. I think even my Mariel's Wedding and all that kind of stuff. But you don't know until you see the finished product. Is that kind of sort of if you have an independent film with independent people?
You look at it, like we go to all the markets. We go to the Cannes Film Festival. We go to the American Film Market because, I mean, part of my title is acquisitions, and so we are picking up completed movies. Plus, we also have a post production house, and we're filmmakers, and so we could say, "Hey, uh, your completed movie that is at 2 hours and 5 minutes." I, I mean, it's not a Marvel movie, and so right now, people want movies more towards 90 minutes or 95 minutes or even 100 minutes instead of 125 minutes. And so, can we give you some notes? Can we talk about, cutting some fat to get it down to that area where we could sell, and so it's a process, and it's a process with indie films because everybody's making indie films now. I mean, you could make an indie film for $10,000, $20,000, a feature film, and sometimes they're really good. But again, that doesn't mean you have the talent that you could sell it. And so, yes, the Billy Elliots of the world, I mean, get out into the world, but there's hundreds of Billy Elliots out there that nobody knows about, and sometimes even struggle to get distribution, and so people make beautiful movies that sit on people's shelves, and nobody sees them because it's a difficult process. You have to hit all the buttons. You have to make a good movie. I mean, the production value has to be high quality because people watch a lot of content these days, and so you can't have bad sound, you can't have bad performance, and that's the most frustrating thing as a distributor. I mean, as a producer, I mean, we take a lot of time casting because even the person that says one line has to come in and deliver that line and not be an amateur. But I mean, I see people that spend a million or 1.5 million, and some actors are bad, and it just takes you out of it. And these are the little things that are going to prevent a sale. I mean, you have to have high quality work all around because it's a very competitive business. And so if you're going to deliver something with bad sound or bad acting or bad camera work, it's not going to work, and you're not going to make your money back.
Yeah, so that's very that's interesting because I worked with Renato Uramco Films. He goes to Berlin and Cannes Film Festival, and I was scouting content for him too. And he was so busy that I would find a lot of the films that I would find are like these independent films, like you said. Um, Maybe they had a sound issue, or maybe they didn't have like that that's even though he said that it doesn't matter if they have like all the star names, but the talent didn't need to be on point, but the sound needed to be impeccable. And I found several films for him. Some of them I missed because by the time he got back from Berlin or Cannes, by the time he looked at it, they would get distribution. And but it's like you said, it's a meticulous process. It's time consuming, and like it's ever changing, right? Especially in this kind of market right now after COVID, the market has changed again, right?
Um, yeah, it's one of those things that the market's always changing. But the funniest thing as a distribution company, I mean, during the first 6 months of COVID, when nobody was producing everything, uh, everyone was saying, "Oh my God, people must be starved for content. So you should be able to sell your library, the films that you already have for distribution." But the buyers and the broadcasters and platforms really didn't know what was going to happen with COVID and when people were going to be in production again, and so their budgets weren't really. I mean, they weren't fluid. Um, so it was one of those things that it was almost like the first 6 months, everything was stalled. Everything, nobody was doing anything. But then we started making movies, and we ended up doing like seven during. I mean, and I'm including Blossom in that. I mean, because who knows is there an end date of COVID? So,
Oh my
you
gosh.
know, we
And then the new stuff that's
we
coming out, you're like, "Can we get a break in life?" And it just is like,
exactly.
oh my gosh.
So we made quite a few um,
You did
product.
7 during COVID. Wow, that's, like,
Yes.
super fantastic. Were you shooting locations? Like, where were you shooting?
Uh, we did one, and we did the Business of Christmas 2 in Richmond, Virginia. We did a movie called Night of the Falling Stars in uh, Mississippi. We did our Lifetime movie, You Can Never Go Home Again. That also shot in Mississippi. And then the last couple movies we've done have been in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Los Angeles is a great place to shoot. I mean, you got the best crews because you got people like in between studio movies that like us and work with us, and they'll say, "Hey, I'll come work for 3 weeks or 4 weeks on a smaller movie while I'm waiting to get picked up on a." So you get high quality crew, and of course, the majority of actors around the world live in the LA area, and so people are driving to set, and so especially with the indie movies that are done on a budget, you're not flying people in, you're not paying housing, you're not paying transportation, and so Los Angeles is always fun to shoot.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, we're gonna end part one here and ask the audience to come back because we want to go over some of your films, directing, and we have so much more to talk about in learning about distribution, producing, and post production. You do it all, and so I'm going to ask our audience to come back for part two with Charles Morris. Can everybody want to do that? Yeah. Okay. So we'll see you back for part two. Thank you for listening, everybody, and we'll be right back.